Good morning. This is Mona, and this is my morning view. Today, spring edition 2026. The sun is going in and out of the clouds. When it's out, it's warm. When it's not, it's cold. And there's a breeze. All right. And the breeze is chilly. So that's the weather report for the day. Okay. Oh, spring edition 2026. It is Fiesty Friday. Fiesty Friday. And I'm ready and raring to go. Fiesty Friday is the day that I get to offend. And sometimes even myself. Well, guess what? Today is one of those days where I get to offend myself. All right. I don't know where that sun is with this screen. Oh, trying not to blind you. Okay, so yesterday, was it yesterday? It was either yesterday or the day before. Days just kind of merge into each other sometimes. Where I was watching a video of somebody on YouTube, watching a video of somebody. You know this. You know the script. You know they'll. The Christian ones are always like, you got to watch this, and then the ones that aren't per se Christian, although I believe a lot of them have Christian values, not all of them, but I don't watch everybody every day. I watch a couple every day, so I do watch them every day, but not like all day long, hours long, and I don't watch every single one of them every day. Here and there. So that's the style. That's the style. The person listens, watches the video, and then they critique the video. That was this particular style. Like I said, the Christian ones, they're just saying, you got to watch this. And the ones that I think might have a Christian narrative behind behind the thinking, or at least Christian values, without even being a Christian. So there are people with Christian values that aren't per se a Christian. And they will watch these videos, and then they critique them, and they talk about them, and they talk their perspective about what this person's perspective is, right? And this video was of this manager that was saying how anytime, it was a white manager, anytime that he has an interview with someone where he's doing the hiring because he's the manager, if there is a black person that is in the mix of people that are there to be interviewed, he's going to hire the black person every time. That's what he said. He's going to hire the black person every time. And he said because of white privilege. Now this is a white dude. He's a manager. And he's saying, we have our opportunities. They don't. So I'm going to give them the opportunity every time. Now, the gentleman that was watching the video, the critiquer, he is a man of color. So he comes out and it's like, basically said it's BS, right? That he grew up in not the perfect environment, but he, as far as, what was accessible, but he rose to the occasion. He said he doesn't have a problem walking into a bank and getting a loan for any of his houses. He's got multiple houses. I think he does, what do you call it, investment properties. Things like that. It didn't trigger me so much of that somebody else would get the job ahead of me. It was this dude talking about how we have privilege. And I got up so victimized. World of being a victim. And I'm like, excuse me? I have been blocked from job after job after job because of some sort of discrimination. Some sort of discrimination. One way or another. I was the most qualified. I came in, I did the interview, and somebody else got the job that was not qualified. I have some examples. I was on the warpath. I go, this guy isn't a manager. He's not thinking of the best interest of the company. That he's willing to hire somebody who just based on their color. Now, mind you, that goes both ways, okay? So I'm not against people with color. I absolutely love people with color. They've always been like my best friends. It's either that or they're married to a man of color. And so therefore, it's not about the color. It's about the bias of this man. Now, I understand that sometimes you don't hire the person with the most qualifications because they may not be a good fit. You're interviewing the person, you're interviewing their body language, you're interviewing their what they're giving off. And a lot of times people can do, they're great actors. Great actors, great actresses, they can come in and they can just, whoo, and you're going, yeah, and you buy into it and you hire them. And then you find out, oh my God, why did I hire this individual? I've seen that. I've seen the manager's face in the morning when the person they hired has exhausted them to their last point. And they come into the room and they look over at me and then they sigh and they walk away. Like, Lord help me. And all I kept wanting to say is, you made your bed, sleep in it. Why? Because I'm human. I helped that individual out. I helped them out a lot. And then they felt bad that they got the job over me, knowing that I knew the job better than they did. And I said, look, when you came in here, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. I don't have a problem with you. So as you can see, I don't have a problem with the person that was hired over me. Well, maybe one case. Maybe two. Okay, multiple times. All right. The point is it triggered me because I'm sitting there going, excuse me, Mr. White Privilege, that you're going to sit there and tell me that we as white people have privilege when I grew up in a kind of a poor home. My friends who are on welfare ate better, had better vehicles, and had indoor plumbing. Okay? So don't sit there and preach to me. I get out of high school and I wanted to go to college so bad, and I tried to work my way through college. I was working nights and going to school during the day and trying to carry multiple units so I can get it done faster. Didn't work out, by the way. You're running on empty. Running on empty. So then I joined the military. There's a whole story to that. But I ended up joining the military. And I'm like, well, at least I can go into college by joining the military, right? So I'll have a career and I can save up for college. Well, that didn't happen either, because back in the day when I went in, it was not the GI Bill. It was VEEP. VEEP. For every dollar you put in, the government put in $2. Well, at the end of that, I didn't have enough to go to college. And it wouldn't pay for a tech school at the time. It only paid for traditional college. It would have paid maybe 1 year of college. That would have been it. So I didn't get to go to college. I then, with traveling with the military, I finally convinced my husband that if I could get a Pell Grant, because being in the military, You did not have money back in the day. We were lucky to have a vehicle that worked properly, right? So I was able to get a Pell Grant, and I went to college. But by the time I got accepted into nursing school, prices had gone up quite a bit, and the Pell Grant, my husband got a raise, but we really didn't see it because he was overseas, and so they took out part of the pay because he was now overseas. But that changed how much we get for Pell Grant as well, even though we didn't see it. So I ended up paying out of pocket, working nights again, taking care of my mom, taking care of my kids, and commuting to school. Until my daughter came down with headlights for the fourth time from the school. And my husband found out that there was no way he was going to be able to come back to the same unit or the same base or the same town, that we were being shipped off somewhere else, and that was final. And so we couldn't live in two separate places, so I had to quit school because it was just too hard working nights, taking care of my mom, taking care of my kids, trying to make sure that they got to be children and not use my ambition to hinder them in what they growing up, being kids, being in Girl Scouts, being in Boy Scouts, all the stuff, getting them to church, getting them there for missionettes, Royal Rangers, the whole gamut. So I didn't finish. And we moved on to our next duty station. And in nursing school, you don't just go back to school and pick up where you left off. No, you got to start the whole program over again, because every nursing school is different. Yay. So it didn't happen. Every job I've ever gotten was entry level. And that was if I was lucky enough to even get the job. Do you see the victim stuff coming in here? Okay. So this guy triggered me big time. I'm like, dude, just because you were handed a frickin' silver spoon and mommy and daddy paid your way through college, now you feel like you owe it to give it to somebody of another color because they don't have opportunities. Except for, I've known lots of people of different skin color that have made it big. They've made it big for one reason or another. It is not always because you bust your arse. No, it is not always that. Sometimes you bust your arse and you still don't get nothing. And that's across the board. And it's why people who don't have white privilege, even though they're white, get so angry at people that talk about white privilege. And most of those people that talk about white privilege are white people who were privileged. They got the job because they were in the right sorority. Or whatever that is. I don't know. Is sorority female or male? I don't know. The point is I was triggered. And this is what happens when you get triggered. I went down the victim road. Oh, you saw that? Woo! I had to go around so that my hand wouldn't hit the metal. I was triggered, and I got defensive, and I went right into victim mode. What's nice is I recognize it. Because I don't have to stay a victim. When you go down that road, it messes with your brain. Scientifically, it messes with your brain. It sends you down a spiral. We're not to go down the spiral. We're going up. I'm like, what is this victim thing that keeps just coming back, gurgling up to the surface again? Man, that root is deep, deep. And then later on, I was watching a training on they were talking about generational curses, or curses in general. See, you can curse yourself. Yes, the curse was paid for on the cross, okay? And Jesus nailed the curse of the law upon the cross, right? But there are some curses that have ground. Legal term, ground. That, you know, back in the Bible days, the Father's blessing, right? You had the Father's blessing. And that Father's blessing carried you. It carried generation after generation. Well, the same thing with a curse. When somebody curses you, you're ugly, you're fat, you're stupid. You hear it enough times, you start to believe it. You were the victim. You were the victim. I am not taking away your victimness. Okay? There's a lot of areas in my life where I have been the victim. And it was true that I was the victim. But I don't have to stay in victimhood. I don't have to stay in that woe is me. And I certainly don't have to hear these generational curses that have been passed down generation after generation after generation that can be broken off. When we speak curses over ourselves, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm whatever, because people have said it to us. So now we're agreeing with it. When we make agreement with a curse, you have caused ground for that curse to stay. And somewhere in the line of being a victim throughout my entire life, I took on every victim circumstance that ever happened, no matter how horrendous or how minuscule it was. I took it all as I'm the victim, and now that's all I have. It's all I have, so I have to guard it. No, I don't. Now, I thought I got rid of it, but then the triggers come, and they show us what is really there. And my trigger, my aggravation, my defensiveness showed what's here. Didn't show the root cause. Didn't show the root cause. So I'm sitting there thinking about victimhood, right? Just in general, victimhood. And I think about how there's been different victims in my family of different scenarios, different things. And then there's like my grandfather on my mother's side became an orphan. Him and his brother at a young age, and back in those days they didn't adopt children because they wanted to have children or because they loved children. They needed farmhands. They needed farmhands, so they would go out and they would adopt these children to be farmhands. Girls for helping around the house, boys for helping out with the farm. And the shyster lawyer put them into an orphanage, wrote his grandparents and told them that they're in a prestigious boys' school to please send payment for their tuition regularly. Grandparents are thinking, well, we don't want the boys to come out of the prestigious boys' school, so we'll just go ahead and send them the money instead of going out and getting the boys. Puts them into the orphanage, and he changes the spelling of their last name so they would be harder to find. Hence why my mother's family has no idea how to spell their last name. They all spell it differently. My grandfather's like, at some point he's like, you know what, I could do better on my own. So he runs away. Victimhood. He was a victim of circumstance. Not taking that away. He went out and he made a better life for himself. But the generational curse doesn't always hit every generation. Sometimes it skips a generation. Sometimes it skips 2 generations. So you have to see it around you. Okay, do cousins have this problem? Do aunts or uncles have this problem? Do who has this? Who in this lineage has had issues? There's other generational curses that have taken place. That was my mother's side. My father's side. My father's father died when my father was young. He had to quit school. He had to go to work. This was that with my father was during the Depression. Victimhood. So on both sides there has been victims in various areas of life, various gamuts, if you will, and they seem to have all converged on me. Although I've also seen it in some of my nieces and nephews' Hashimoto's. When I got Hashimoto's, they were saying it's a hereditary disease. Now, the minute they say hereditary, it's very possible generational curse. But I was thinking, nobody else in my family has this. How could this be hereditary? Well, since then, I've had several relatives that have had either this particular disease or one that is a sister to it, which all the sister diseases, you can actually get multiple of. So it's basically the same curse, coming out in different ways. So it's very possible that this victim mentality is a generational curse. It's a possibility. Or it's just something that I agreed on as people talked down to me throughout my life. And because I agreed upon it, it became a curse that had ground. When I was talking about the Father's blessing and also the Father's curse, those are ground. Those are legal terms. When the Father gave the blessing over the Son, usually the eldest son, because, well, if you notice in the Bible, a lot of times the younger son was the one that got the blessing. just letting you know. So, when he gave that blessing, it was contractual, legal, legalities, ground. Same thing happens with the curse. When someone over you in authority, whether it be your father, whether it be your grandfather, whether it be your mother, whether it be your grandmother, whether it be your teacher, whether it be your boss, whether it be somebody that you hold on high esteem, or you feel like they're over you in some way, shape, or form, in some kind of either a managerial situation or a perverted situation, because you just, spouse. When they have some sort of authority over you in any situation, they can speak into that situation. And they can speak blessings or they can speak curses. This was not supposed to be about curses. This has to do with being triggered. Why are you being triggered? Why are you offended? This one's about me. Recently, yesterday or day before, triggered, offended, got my goat up. And then I was like, why is that? Why am I offended? Why am I triggered? Why did this dude get me so upset? Because I have identity wrapped up in victimhood. And that needs to go. And whether it's a generational curse or it's a curse that I agreed upon, coming in agreement with it. Oh yeah, I'm stupid. I'm fat. I'm ugly. That's why better looking women get the job over me, even when they're really stupid. Because I flip-flop sometimes from being really, really intelligent to really, really stupid. I can't make up my mind which one I am. I'm somebody who's been in the 98th percentile. What good has it done me? Now that I work on a half a brain. But my half a brain is still better than most people's brains. I don't say that to offend y'all. It's just because I used to have this impeccable memory. Notice I said used to. Now I'm on even ground. Even ground. It's not comfortable for me. But maybe the Lord had to kick me off my high horse. Because going from pride to disgust or despise or whatever the opposite of pride is, it's still that same what's the word for that? It's where I'm unsure about myself and who I am. My inability to stand fast on who I am. I'll go all the way over here to pride, and all over here to disgust, but it's on the same pendulum. It's on the same string. I don't know who I am. I told you today is a day of offending myself. And if the shoe fits, Cinderella, Miss Victim. You had a night to shine. And then you lost your shoe. Your stepmother and your stepsisters make it really hard for you to succeed. But you're bigger than that. And you're better than that. And you gotta stop hiding in the attic with the mice. Staying there will only get darker. Not dealing with it. See, this is a Thank God Wonderful Wednesday moment. Because God showed me that something is still there. I'm still holding on to this thing. And it doesn't need to be inside of me. It doesn't need to be a part of me. It doesn't need to exist in my life. And our brains are those things that they take stuff in, they never let it go. They never let it go. It gets filed away and you don't even realize it's there until you get triggered. And then, oop! I got a file for that. Here it is. The file. The file that says you have been a victim. And it's people like this guy that causes the problems. Why are we triggered? Find out the root reason. Find out the root reason. It's never because of that guy. There's another reason to your offense, and it's in here. All right. That's all I have for you today. Blessings, everybody. Have a great day. I will see you on Monday. Blessings. I guess I'm too cold. It won't let me turn it off.